Ghost of Tsushima is an action-adventure game created by Sucker Punch Studios. You play in the year 1274 as the samurai Jin Sakai, whose quest is to put a stop to the Mongol invasion on Tsushima Island. This game is based on the historical event of the Mongol invasion on Japan, and lends some truth to those actualities in certain categories, but divulges into fiction for the most part of the player's journey to make the game more consumer-friendly and, well, super badass. I'm here to separate those facts from fan service and see what this AAA action-adventure experience gets right about what went down in Tsushima back in 1274, from the fighting, to the scenery, to the samurai's demeanor as a whole. Back in 1274, the Mongols began their invasion of Japan on the northwestern tip of Tsushima, Komoda Beach. The attack was spearheaded by Kublai Khan, who ruled over the Mongol army from 1260 to 1294. The force of 1,000 Mongol soldiers landed on Komoda Beach and were met by 80 samurai led by the local governor, So Sukekuni. The Mongols made quick work of the samurai and ruthlessly pushed onto the island, where the invasion began to spread across Japan. In Ghost of Tsushima, the beginning of the Mongol invasion also took place on Komoda Beach, yet the Mongols were met by a large standing army of samurai known as the Sakai clan, led by mythological characters Lord Shimura and his nephew, our protagonist, Jin Sakai. The Mongol forces are led by another mythological character, Khotan Khan, the main antagonist of Ghost of Tsushima. The invasion of Komoda Beach plays out as it did in history, with the Mongols breaking through the samurai's defenses and spreading their rule throughout Tsushima. Although, the conclusion of the overall invasion plays out much differently. The real Mongol invasion was thwarted shortly after they captured Tsushima when a hurricane in Kyushu, Japan destroyed the Khan's fleet. The creators of the game want to personify that hurricane as the game's protagonist, Jin Sakai, who ends up killing the Khan, therefore unraveling the Mongol army and thwarting their invasion before it can spread beyond Tsushima. The game's director, Nate Fox, said this: "Our hero isn't a hurricane, he's a man, and we actually acknowledge that change with this sword that's engraved with storm wind designs." The samurai at the time of the Mongol invasion do not envision the samurai that we countlessly see being depicted in popular culture. In fact, the samurai's signature weapon, the katana, hadn't even been invented yet, and instead soldiers relied on longbows and horsebacks to fight and kill their enemies. To be frank, the samurai had no idea how to deal with the Mongol forces, as their way of fighting up to that point consisted of individual duels against other samurai and not firing masses of arrows at large standing armies. In-game, the creators fully dove into the fan service, equipping Jin with the stylized blade, chunky, bright-colored armor, and even skips ahead a few centuries in terms of technology by equipping him with smoke bombs, kunais, a hwacha, and other items that wouldn't be made available until the Mongols' second invasion attempt on Japan, where they introduced gunpowder onto the battlefront. Jin utilizes 4 stances of fighting throughout the game, utilizing flashy spin attacks, stabs, and parries that make you feel like you're Tom Cruise. Although, Jin doesn't always directly confront his enemies with blade in hand, and instead takes on his alter ego, the Ghost, who kills from the shadows. This part of Jin's fighting style is actually more historically accurate than you'd think. Popular culture has led us to believe the fighting style of the samurai and the ninja are 2 entirely different entities, but in reality, ninjutsu, as they'd call it in feudal Japan, literally just refers to stealth techniques, and is something samurai would utilize frequently when playing lookout or simply stabbing an enemy under the cover of a bush. Although Ghost of Tsushima gives weight to this misconception, as one of the main conflicts of the game is that Lord Shimura, Jin's uncle, and his clan don't approve of this quote-unquote dishonorable fighting style he had to take on in order to survive against the invasion. I'll discuss this more in the next section. At the time of the Mongol invasion, samurai's income came from stipends, basically an allowance from the government, and that sum was directly tied to the amount of time the samurai had participated in battle and how many enemies he'd slain. The game strays away from this concept and instead presents an idealistic view of the samurai code, giving players the options to do the quote-unquote honorable thing and deliver a killing blow to their wounded enemy, which is in line with the samurai code of honor the game continuously shoves in your face, mostly through dialogue with your honor-bound uncle.
I am the ghost. And you will be judged for it.
As I mentioned in the previous segment, one of the game's central conflicts is that Lord Shimura and his shogunate oppose Jin's alter ego, the Ghost, as a means of fighting in the shadows goes against their code of honor and is seen as dishonorable because Jin isn't directly throwing himself into danger by confronting the enemy head-on. Jin argues that his way of fighting is in the right because it's in the best interest of the people. Realistically, this conflict wouldn't have occurred in feudal Japan, as samurai didn't act as heroes, more like police, meant to keep peace in certain areas because they were hired by a landlord to protect their state. Most were influenced by money, not by the well-being of the people, and they certainly didn't hold themselves to the righteous code of honor that is displayed in-game. If you go into Ghost of Tsushima looking for an accurate depiction of the Mongol invasion of 1274 from the perspective of the samurai, that's not what you're going to get. What you do get, though, is a beautiful, semi-accurately depicted story in that time period about a samurai who's conflicted over his commitment to the code he's lived by his whole life and his commitment to the people and fighting for them by any means necessary. Ghost of Tsushima is a must-have experience in my book, and I hope this video convinced you to check it out. And if you have already, I hope you appreciated seeing how the game holds up to the historical realities it stems from.